Pokemon Legends Arceus comes out tomorrow in some parts of the world, and I'm gonna break down everything you need to know before you jump into your adventure in the Hisui region. Let's dive in. Yo, whoa, what is going on YouTube? It's your boy Dan, aka aDrive. I'm bringing you guys a brand new video today, and today we're gonna be talking about everything you guys need to know before you start your journey in Pokemon Legends Arceus. I was lucky enough that I got the game early, and I've beaten it at this point, at least the main part of the game, and I've got 13 awesome tips for you guys to break down to make your gameplay experience much better. This is a pretty spoiler-free video as well for those who want to watch it before they start their experience, and I can just give you some very baseline tips that I think will help you a lot and things that I wish I kind of knew going into my experience. So if this does help you, be sure to drop a like on the video and of course subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, and if you can think of anything else, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. But I have a feeling that this video is going to be really helpful for a lot of you guys. So let's not waste any time and let's dive in. So the first thing I'm going to say is that I recommend that you catch every new Pokemon species that you see. It's gonna be really annoying to have to backtrack later, and I'll tell you that there's a feature in this game that will basically hinder you from progressing if you don't capture enough Pokemon. The star system, which we've actually seen in trailers. So if you see a new species, whether it's a Roselia or a Croagunk or a Yanma or whatever, just take the time and stop and catch it. It'll make the gameplay more fulfilling as well, and I recommend doing that because you may find something and then want to get it, and then you won't be able to get it later because the times will be different and you won't be able to find it. And I can tell you that's happened to me. There's a few Pokemon that like I chose to skip out on as I was playing through, and now I haven't seen them again. So highly recommend you catch every single Pokemon you see that's new, at least, as you play through the game. And with that being said, our second tip is don't be afraid to use the rest feature at the base camps. The fact is, you can change the time through that, and you can wait a few minutes, or you could essentially wait to different parts of day. And I highly recommend changing the time so you can explore the same location at different times of day. Like the Obsidian Fieldlands, kind of the first place you start, the spawns could be like Bidoof or Starly, or it could be like Zubat Drifloon, right? So there's some pretty drastic differences between the Pokemon you find based on the time of day you're playing. So don't be afraid to change that time and be willing to explore at different times of day in the Hisui region. When you start the game, it comes with an autosave feature. I personally hate autosave because I think that there's, especially as a shiny hunter, there's times where you may want to save at your own will and be able to soft reset and kind of redo things. So I would recommend turning off the autosave. This one's really optional and it kind of depends on your playstyle, but I'll tell you, if you're a shiny hunter, you're probably going to want to turn it off and kind of save manually. And I'll talk a little bit more about shinies in a different video, but this kind of goes into that. If you do find a shiny, you can save and it'll still be there. So that's the good news. This game is a lot about gathering various materials to craft different items, and crafting's not intense or insane or hard to do, by the way. It's very easy, but you need the materials to do so. So my recommendation is, as you're traveling around this Hisui region, just gather everything. Throw your Pokemon into the trees, grab the apricorns, grab the berries, throw your Pokemon into the rocks and smash them, and grab the minerals and different things like that, which could also contain evolution stones. So even more incentive to do them. If you see sparkling rocks, throw your Pokemon at those, get those, because you're gonna need that money, the Stardust that you get for that later. So again, explore everything. Throw your Pokemon out at all the different iron chunks and all the tumble stones and everything that you see around the map, because it's worth it, and your Pokemon gain XP for that as well. So it ends up being really valuable to do that. But again, don't just kind of skimp out by just running around. My recommendation is gather everything because you will use it, that's for sure. You're gonna probably run into a situation where your bag space feels really limited, and there's actually a character in Jubilife inside kind of the Galaxy headquarters on the first floor that will allow you to expand your bag space. I don't know how far he allows you to expand it, but the amount you pay him goes up every single time you expand it, and I can tell you that he's charging me 20,000 Pokédollars to expand one slot at this point. I've expanded like 20 slots, 30 slots at this point. So highly recommend you guys save your money early so you can expand your bag space, because the last thing you want to be doing is out on a really fun traveling mission and you're stuck where your bag is full and you have to start discarding items because you want to pick up a rare item. So I highly recommend utilizing that person, that NPC in the beginning of the game, to expand your bag space. Again, he'll stand right by the staircase. He's really easy to find, and he'll be a key to being able to explore a little bit longer. Another thing regarding space and kind of item management is you can store your items freely in the chests at the base camps throughout the region, as well as in your house, and there's a chest right before you leave Jubilife as well. One of the nice things is you can access those items when crafting at any time. So if you're crafting an item and you put all your, let's say, your apricorns in your trunk, essentially, you can still craft even though they're in your trunk, even if you're in the middle of the wildlands, right? So you can utilize that feature to your advantage, so you store the things that maybe you would use for crafting or whatever it may be, your evolution stones, things like that. I just highly recommend being mindful of your inventory management so you don't end up throwing things away and losing items that you otherwise wouldn't be able to carry. And this is another tip that I actually don't have written down, but a lot of the quests require you to go to find a certain Pokemon, and oftentimes you don't have to have them in your party to fulfill the request requirement. So just be mindful of that. Like going back to your pastures to get your Pokemon is often how you get the Pokemon, but you can also access them at base camps through an NPC. And oftentimes, like I said, for the quest, you don't even need them in your party. You can access them from your pastures. So it depends on the quest, but generally you can rock with the party that you want to rock with. I think this is probably my biggest tip, and I probably should have started with this one or ended with it, but I ultimately feel like this is the kind of game, especially, that I recommend not rushing through, right? I say take your time, enjoy the game. You can only play a game like this, a new game, for the first time one time. So don't rush through that gameplay experience. Take your time, just enjoy it. Explore every crevice of the world. I can tell you that I feel like I kind of played the middle ground, right? Like, I explored a good amount. I don't feel like I was deprived of that. And I played through the game because I wanted to, like, ultimately beat it. But I could have easily spent 10, 20, 30, 40 more hours exploring as I went through my first journey. And I've seen people do that. I know people who legitimately have 10, 15 hours of gameplay before they even beat the first boss, like the first noble Pokemon. So I think that you could play it however you want. That's going to make you happy. But my recommendation is don't rush. Just enjoy the game. Catch everything you see. Have fun with it. And just enjoy the experience that is the Hisui region, because it's really magical, man. One other tip I would say is don't be afraid to fight the alpha Pokemon that you find early on. Chances are you're gonna get wrecked, right? Like the chances are you're gonna get kind of mowed over. But I'll tell you that I chose to kind of skip the alpha Pokemon, which are the strong Pokemon with the red eyes. I chose to skip them until like mid-game, until I felt I was strong enough to fight them. And part of me feels like I missed out a little bit on that experience. I think if I were to redo things, I probably would have been a little bit more open to challenging those alpha Pokemon, and I probably would have utilized some of the resources like the berries and things of that nature to be a little bit more effective. You have a ton of tools at your disposal to catch Pokemon. I chose to kind of just power through and just throw balls at stuff until I caught it, or, you know, kind of fight things until I caught them. But you can be really strategic with berries and different types of foods to encourage the Pokemon to be distracted, to then ultimately try to catch them. Again, that's not how I played, but I think if I were to do it again, I would probably be a little bit more methodical, and I'd be a little bit more open to challenging some of those alpha Pokemon, as you get some really cool rewards like XP candy and some of the grit stones and stuff like that. This game has a ton of side quests and missions, and I would recommend that you take a look at some of them. Some of them are incredible. They add to the lore. They really kind of tie in some of the really cool Pokemon aspects. Like one example is there's a little Drifloon that like is playing with a boy by the beach, and you have to kind of go solve that puzzle. There's some really cool quests and missions that aren't just as straightforward, and some that are even like more far-fetched that kind of draw back to other Pokemon games. So I really think the quest system is really fun. I chose to skip a lot of them. I probably did like 30-40% of the quests. I really prioritized the ones that I felt were the most beneficial, that had the best rewards. But you can get a lot of extra gameplay and fun out of that. And it kind of goes back to just like my opinion is just take your time and have fun with the game. I think doing a lot of those quests and side missions will add to your gameplay experience and kind of add to the lore. And some of them are really valuable as they expand your town. Like, for example, one of them allows you to grow more farms, and those farms can be really good for gathering resources down the road. So just a little tip there. I just think that the side missions and the quests are actually worthwhile. And obviously, as a result of that, talk to everybody, right? Like, some people have a quest marker over their head, but other people will give helpful tips that I think is worthwhile. There's a thing in the game called Distortion Riffs, and they'll be really obvious when they happen. It'll form like a big globe on the map, and it'll give you a pop-up that the Distortion Rift is forming. I recommend when a rift is forming to go to it immediately, even if it's not totally formed, and just kind of wait around in the area, because they only last for a short period of time, and you do not want to miss out on a Distortion Rift, because they are only going to happen so often. It's kind of like a blood moon in Legends of Zelda, but this is really worthwhile. When you're in a Distortion Rift, there's tons of really good items that you can get. Oftentimes there's like evolution stones, and there's a handful of rare Pokemon like Porygon that spawn in these Distortion Rifts that you're not going to be able to find any other way in the game. They can be a little challenging and overwhelming in the early game because some of the Pokemon that are in there are really strong, but it's also an opportunity for you to get some of the rarest Pokemon in the game and get some of the best items in the game, including the shards, which spawn in the Distortion Rifts. These shards are really valuable later on, as they can be kind of one of the most effective money farming tools, and you need that money again to be able to kind of essentially afford the bag space and all this other stuff that you want to do. And kind of speaking of the shards, there is a recipe you can buy in Jubilife, and that'll allow you to turn them into an even more valuable resource. The Stardust and the shards will make star pieces. You could sell those. They're worth a lot of money. There's a quest in the game where you track down Wisps, and you're going to be introduced to this as you play through the game. It's not really a spoiler. You can't miss it. They force you into this quest. just grab the Wisps as you travel, guys. Don't skip them. If you see a Wisp, grab it. They're easier to see at night. You don't want to have to go backtrack for them later. It's going to be a nightmare, I'll tell you. I'm at like half of them, but I never skipped any. Like if I saw them, I grabbed them, but I never like actively searched for them. Definitely grab the Wisps because you're going to need to get all the Wisps to be able to beat the game. So I recommend grabbing them. Not to beat the main part of the game, but to ultimately beat the game. I highly recommend playing with audio in this game. One, the music is phenomenal, as most Pokemon games have, but shiny Pokemon make a sparkle sound when they spawn. So you can actually hear a shiny Pokemon spawn and you don't want to miss it. So highly recommend you play with music on or audio on. They could appear at any time, and because you see Pokemon shinies in the overworld, people are finding shinies at a more frequent pace than maybe any other Pokemon game before, as you can travel through this open area and have Pokemon popping up left and right, and by the time you travel a good distance, you would have seen dozens of Pokemon, and as you play through the game enough times, a 1 in 4,000 chance doesn't really seem that crazy when you're seeing hundreds of Pokemon popping up as you kind of traverse through the game. So I definitely recommend playing with audio on just so you can hear those shiny sparkles. And the last thing I'll mention is like, the way the game works is there's not a ton of trainer battles. Most of the gameplay is through like catching Pokemon and stuff. I didn't really feel like that was a bad thing, but I would recommend rotating your party around to get better XP gain around things. And when you send out your Pokemon to like smash a rock or hit a tree to get berries, they get a small amount of XP, but it does add up. So don't be afraid to kind of rotate the Pokemon that you use to get those advantages. Just spread out your XP. So that was 13 tips, but it ended up being like 25 tips ultimately about how you can experience Pokemon Legends Arceus in a better way. And these are all the things you should know before you start playing Pokemon Legends Arceus. So hopefully this was helpful. I'm sure it is. I tell you, like I said, I wish I had all this information before I started. It would have changed a couple of things for me, but learned from my mistakes and my wisdom. And I hope you guys enjoy it. Seriously, if there's one takeaway here, please, I can't emphasize it enough. Enjoy the game. That's it. This is a beautiful game. It is truly a masterpiece from Pokemon, and it's definitely my favorite Pokemon game, and I'm so thankful that I had a chance to play it and continue to play it and share that all with you guys. So, like I said, you can only play a game for the first time one time. Enjoy that experience. This is truly a treat. Thank you guys so much for watching this one. Be sure to like the video if you guys enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.